We are finally back with some Kamen Rider Gavv. The episode is titled Break into the Dark Treat Factory, and it picks up exactly from last episode where Vram has seriously injured Hanto, but we do find out that he will make a recovery. So they're in Kenzo's basement layer, and he's chatting with Shoma about this entire situation, talking about the riders, talking about the granutes, and he's just trying to suss them out a bit more, I suppose. Seeing as now, Hanto and Shoma obviously know who each other are and they're working together and all that fun stuff. Which you might be saying that was a couple of episodes ago. Yeah, I fell behind. I've just caught up. This is the first Kamen Rider video in a while. We then cut to Vram meeting with Nyelv, and here's the thing. They're kind of discussing everything that's just happened and the new game plan forward. But Vram is definitely a bit sort of, he's keeping himself, cut off. Do you know what I mean? And then Nyelv pulls out what looks to be a new Gotchazor, or even though they're not technically Gotchazors. Gotchazors are the specific ones that Shoma has and that he gives to Hanto, and they're the ones that are sentient. These aren't, but they work in the same way. We know that Vram is pudding themed, but this one seems to be more of a strawberry jello or a jelly if you're from the UK. During this conversation though, we see there are some Gotchazors spying on the two of them, which of course they report back to Shoma when he's in the apartment just after, luckily, Sachika has left. So Shoma races out and he confronts Vram. Now, first of all, we know that there's a bit of animosity between the two of them. There was a massive fight last episode, but we know that Shoma wants them to join forces. Trouble is, while Shoma is half human, half granute, Vram is just a granute who's disguising himself as a human. That has a changer, right? So he has a henshin belt, and Shoma's like, look, we should join forces. I hate the stomach family, you hate the stomach family. I know you're working kind of for them, but this needs to be sorted out. And Vram's just like, look, I didn't even know humans existed before joining Stomach Inc. I can't be any part of this. But we slowly see him unravel as a person, or as a granute, I suppose. Basically, we found out last episode or the episode before that he lost his little brother to a member of the Stomach family. Now, of course, they don't know at this point that Shoma is part of the Stomach family. They just know that they all pretty much collectively hate the Stomach family. But they go outside and Vram watches all the humans interact, and there's people bumping into each other, not really caring about each other, and that gives him flashbacks to the time where he lived in the subdimension with the Stomach family, and he kind of sees himself through humans and then gets incredibly emotional thinking about his brother. And that is definitely the changing point. He breaks down crying, and he basically says to Shoma, look, the only way we can save the people who have been kidnapped is to go directly into the Stomach Inc. headquarters. There's no other way. And whilst he hasn't explicitly said let's team up, I mean, come on. And at this point, we also learn of his name for the first time, and apologies if my pronunciation is wrong, but it's Lakaya, as opposed to the code name he was given, which is Lagay 9, which is, it's not as cool as Lakaya. On their travels, they spot a Stomach henchman and follow him into a public toilet. He just goes into a random cubicle. A little thing lights up in the front of it. He walks in and all of a sudden he's vanished. And they're kind of saying, okay, this is clearly a doorway to the big thing we saw in episode 1, the big doors with the stairs and everything. They're like, we need to go in. They try and go in a couple of times and they just end up in a bathroom. And Akaya's like, look, he did something with his hand and it opened the portal. Tries to do it and he couldn't. And then Shoma, without actually saying anything, but taking the subtext, he realizes he's part of the Stomach family. The chances are if anybody can do it, it's him. Puts his hand out, the symbol lights up, and all of a sudden they're in, or at least they're out, into that big open void. There's a bit of tomfoolery. They're running up and down the stairs. They're opening random doors to random locations, but eventually they end up in the big palace where the Stomach family live. /work/ keep prisoners. A few wrong doors later and they are in. And they get to this random spot and Shoma has a random flashback memory kind of to Hanto's mother, who is obviously somebody he's never met. And for a brief moment he's like, what happened there? Why did I see that? But he can't even explain it to anybody or even to himself because a random henchman shows up and just starts blasting at him.
I started blasting. Bang!
And you know what I actually found quite funny about it as well? Out of all the doors they went through, they didn't open the door that took you to the Film Studios Patreon, where for just £3 a month you can get exclusive videos, early access to videos, and shout-outs at the end of the videos, all for less than the price of a meal deal. It was quite rude of him, to be honest. I mean, the door's in the description if you guys want to check it out. I don't know. Anyway, Shoma and Lakaya end up in the processing room where Shoma's mother died. It's the exact place, but they do find all the glass shards with all the humans that have been kidnapped, which is a win, and it's all good. They go to take the humans, but Grota appears and does not take no for an answer. She's taking no prisoners. She's there for violence and only violence. A side note, Grota, man. Which I know sounds weird in my accent, but Grota. What? I'm not going to make a comment. Grota straight up calls out Lakaya, says you're traitorous and you will never be forgiven and you'll never be allowed to enter back into this subdivision of family that we've got. And he's like, listen, I don't give a fuck. My brother was murdered in cold blood and I want nothing to do with the Stomach family anymore. Oh, What a weapon. He then henshins into Kamen Rider Vram, and we get a 1v1, and it's sick. All the while, Shoma's in the background, just trying to collect all the shards of people and try and get them out. Grota, again, I'll reserve my comments about that woman, but she's obviously got this scythe, and she is just going ham. And we haven't even seen her turn into a proper granny. She is still just in this human transformation form. Shoma's got cases of people, and they're legging it. They're running. Even Vram's running, and she's chasing after them. They go through some doors and end up on stage of like a concert, where then Grota does follow them through. Takes out the little widget that goes in her stomach. Somehow, her granute form is also hot. And I'm not even going to elaborate on that. And during all of this, at some point, Shoma has also henchined into Kamen Rider Gavv. And look, Hanto, he's recovering. He's woken up at some point. He's recovering. He's just having a little scroll on social media, but he sees a photo from somebody at the concert of Gavv and Vram. So he's like, oh my God, I need to get down there. So he races down. A bit more of a fight breaks out. There's some henchmen. So what Shoma does is he upgrades to his cake form, which I've not done a video on that yet, but just like, what an upgrade. Who knew that a cake superhero could look so fire? I mean, maybe some people. And with his whipped cream dispenser sword thing, which looks very questionable, may I add, he's able to spurt out little minions. Why did I say spurt out? No, he's able to create little minions and basically creates a minion, and the minion takes the case and starts running with it, just to distract, so they can distract. And then the moment we've been waiting for that was teased at the start of this episode. It is time for Vram to take it one step up. He pulls out the pink jelly, the gelatin, the jello, puts it in his belt, and he changes it up. He becomes the Pink Jelly Rider, which is probably not the accurate name at all, but we're gonna go with it. And long-time viewers know how much I love the concept of a male Pink Ranger. This is the closest I'm gonna get for a while, I think. And I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. It's been long enough. Welcome back, Don Pink. We also find out that this new jelly power allows him to go invisible, but at the cost of completely stopping his heartbeat. So, a risky power, to say the least, but it comes in good effect. Hanto finally arrives and he's about to join in the fight. He literally has his changer and the Gotchizo out ready, but he is just sort of starstruck at the concept of Shoma and Lakaya working together, that he just kind of sits back and watches. Now, the stakes are getting higher. Grota is absolutely obliterating them, let's be honest. But then what Shoma does next is quite cool. I think it's the first time we've actually seen him do this specific move in the show, where he creates like an icing footpath with all candles down the side, and he uses it to do like a big ice skating skid straight down, resulting in, I think it was a kick, it could be a punch. Watch the B-roll. I've forgotten. But he gets blasted back by Grota, and we think, oh, it doesn't work, but the attack actually did destroy her scythe, at least for now. I imagine she'll get it back to some degree. So of course this kind of pisses her off, but she laughs it off. She turns back into the human form, or at least she turns into the human form again, because her natural form is the granite form. She pulls the move that I don't understand why more Sentai, Kamen Rider, Power Ranger villains don't do more often, where in front of Vram and Valen, he's like, well, you really are the younger sibling, to which obviously he's never admitted to anybody that he's part of that stomach family. And she just turns around and walks off into the distance like the baddie she is, and like the moment is so sculpted yet messy. Does that even make sense? I don't know. Like, we knew it was coming. We knew at some point they'd find out, but just like that was cold. Do you know what I mean? So both Lakaya and Hanto confront Shoma, and they're obviously devastated. They demorph, and Hanto just legs up to him and grabs him by the collar. He's like, is this true? Why didn't you tell me what is going on? Shoma is silent, and he just sucker punch right hooks him to the face, knocking him to the ground straight across the jawline, and the episode just ends. Just ends there. Loved it. Episode 20 going out in an absolute bing of a bang. I love Lakaya already. He's very dark and mysterious, but he clearly has a very good heart. And I love the pudding form. I think it looks really cool as it is, but the jello form, I don't know what it is. With me and the color pink, especially that sort of hot pink, I think it looks really cool. I'm also glad Hanto now knows that Shoma's a granite, because it was going to happen. It needed to happen. Where they'll go with the story now, I don't know, and I think that's why I wanted it to happen, because I think that tension was going to make it even cooler, especially since Vram is more or less just sort of half teamed up with them. I think that riff is gonna be pretty cool. And I've said it once, I'll say it again. Grota, if you need a nerdy Welsh content creator, you know where I am. Hit subscribe, you'll see more of me. And when doing these videos, I don't really like to talk about the previews for the next episode, but we are going to get another new rider, whose name I believe is the Bitter Treat Rider. It's like based off of the Bitter Treats. Maybe it's like just bitter. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments, what's his name actually going to be? Because I suppose I'll find out next week anyway. But yeah, man, so good. Thank you for coming back to my Kamen Rider video. It's like the 4th one I've made, I think. I did 3 kind of consecutively and then just fell off the face of the earth with them. Been posting since, just not about Kamen Rider. I let the show kind of get ahead of me a little bit by accident, but I've caught up and I'm ready to lock back in with these Kamen Rider videos at least once every 2 to 3 weeks. I've been loving it so far. The cake form is incredible. Obviously, you know, we've seen Vram with a couple of forms. I'm excited to see this new Dark Rider. I think that's going to be really cool. And that's going to take us to 4 riders. And we're only going to be on episode 21 by the time that comes. There's probably going to be about 50 episodes. Will there be more riders? How many do you think we're going to get by the end of this? Let me know in the comments below. If you want to hear me talk more about Kamen Rider, specifically with a Kamen Rider expert, Alpha King 123, hit the first link in the description. That will take you to a live stream that we did together where people asked us about Super Sentai and Kamen Rider, and he gave me a lot of the info that he has been building up over the last few years. I say few years, probably a lot longer. I'm probably undermining him. But first link in the description and second link in the description is to my Patreon that I mentioned earlier. £3 a month, less than the price of a meal deal. You get early access to videos like this one, along with Patreon exclusive content, and you get your name at the end of the video. Thanks again, and henshin! Huge thank you and shout out to Sarah Jane, our Super Dino Mode Patreon.